welcome to Turnford School. So why the title of Culture of Change? And why do I think, as a relatively new head teacher, that I can talk to you about change? Actually, I need you to step in a time machine with me. And I need to take you back to this time 5 years ago. I'd been appointed in December, and I was about to become a new head in Turnford School. You wouldn't have been here 5 years ago. Turnford School, although it didn't have the name, was in special measures. It was failing. And I will always keep a letter that the LA sent me 6 months after my appointment, outlining that it was failing in a unique way because there wasn't one area of the school that functioned properly. Its structures and its systems were a disaster. Its leadership had been horrendous. When I came into the school, there was can't and don't and won't in everybody's mouths. The students at Turnford can't do this. The community of Cheshire won't do this. I, as a teacher, don't do this. And entrenchment, and I understand it because I would have done the same, was the teaching workforce. If you were good, you went into your classroom, you shut your door, and you got on with your work there. There was distrust and failure. We were £660,000 in deficit. There was homophobia and racism rife. However, I will say this. Sitting here today are members of that staff that were experiencing this. And I will always keep with me, even in schools that are failing, there are pockets of pure gold and pure excellence.
Always, sometimes, or never, and are you proud of the work you do? In this case, it's English. What I found interesting is most students in my lesson said sometimes, one student said never, and through my process, I wanted to find out why. Why do you never feel proud of the work you do? And the student said, yes, sir, look at my book, I don't write much, and what I write, I can't even read myself. I thought, wow, good point, I won't disagree with that. So what are we going to do about it? And then he came up with his own strategies. And on the next step in observation, it's quite fascinating to see what not just that child changed, but what the others did in this survey as well. None of the students were able to identify a role model, which made it very difficult for me to give an aspirational target to reach, because they themselves didn't have one in their own lives, I felt. And I found that quite revealing. What's even more revealing was my peer in PE also did the survey, and he had some really bright kids. But when they asked about, do you think PE showcased your best ability, they all wrote never. And I thought that raised quite a lot of questions. Because what does that mean? Does that mean that they don't see the success criteria as being relevant to them? Is it because they can't kick the ball, or is it because they don't feel athletic enough? So that's something we need to come back to. Why do they
So I won't keep you. I just wanted to make a few remarks about what I've seen tonight. And what I've seen, as usual in these events, has been absolutely amazing. I've seen high-quality professional learning, and all coming from yourselves, which is just my ideal world. But I want to just make a few links. I was very interested in what Jo at the beginning said in her talk from this position. She talked about the culture of change and how that is really essentially about learning. And I thought that was a really important thing to remind us of. And she talked about the challenge of that, so that if we're going to change, it means that it causes us some grief. It's actually a challenge. And I went to Claire's session, and she was talking about change in her session, right at the beginning there. And she was talking about the feelings of it, and how if you're going to enable other people to change, then you've got to consider how it feels from their point of view. And there was one interesting moment where Claire was asking us to do silly things with our left hands, and we were expressing frustration about being de-skilled. And some of us couldn't see the point of the exercise. Well, how often do we do things where we can't quite see the point? So that thing that Joe said right at the beginning in this hall about making time for planning, making time for thinking, where colleagues can get together and really reflect. How important is that? Not just to figure out what the point is, but to actually form a community and get a sense of working together. And I heard echoes of that in many workshops tonight. I heard people talking about building a sense of community. And that theme of feelings was running throughout this evening. So many times I heard people talking about, for example, with Joe Hewitson's session, building mindset is really about thinking about the affective side of things. It's about thinking about the way we reward certain kinds of behaviours and so on. It's all about feelings. We talked in another workshop about disaffection and trying to get people to understand what was intrinsically worthwhile about learning. But all the time we're building that sense of community, we're addressing feelings. And I walked past one open door and heard somebody say, the trouble is your school doesn't value pastoral care enough. Said in a very sort of passionate voice. So when we talk about valuing pastoral care, perhaps we're really talking about valuing persons and thinking about the feelings that we need to address in order to help people come together, form a community that has a clear sense of purpose. Tonight I've heard words like aspiration too. You know, you get that sense of aspiration by feeling a sense of belonging. And honestly, every time I go to a HertsCam network event, I get that feeling. We talk about it in relation to the students we teach, but people, as it were, demonstrate it. They're coming together, you know, after a long teaching day, and putting in that effort to come together and share their ideas. And every time somebody shares their ideas, it's a catalyst to get other people to share their ideas. And that seems to me the only way forward. If we're really going to raise our game in schools, to raise the standard of our professional practice and our professional knowledge, we have to learn to come together and help each other to talk about it, which echoes what Joe was saying at the very beginning. So, you know, thank you for letting me come and poke my nose into your workshops. It's a great privilege to do what I do, and I'm so impressed by the way you're building professional knowledge together. So thank you for that. Just a couple of reminders before we finish. Postcards. You've got to put your evaluation postcards in the box, and the box is out there. Yes. And the second thing I'm to remind you of is make sure you've got the date for the annual conference in your diary. It's Saturday, April the 26th. It's going to be a fantastic event. We've got a really great keynote speaker. Graham Donaldson was the Chief Inspector for Scotland, author of the Donaldson Report, fantastic guy. He really understands HertsCam and is a great supporter of HertsCam. But we've also got seminars led by people within HertsCam. It's going to be a fantastic day with a nice lunch and some singing. So I do hope to see you there, and I hope to see you at the next network event. Okay, anything else to say, Julia?
No, that's lovely. Thank you,
Okay,
David.
go safely. See you later.